What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another FPL video, and today I'm going to be telling you my final team for Game Week 2. So there was a lot of debate, and if you've seen the previous videos, I was looking at a City or a Spurs option to get into the team. But here's my lineup. In goal, I've got Martinez. I haven't made any transfers. I've stuck with the same team, and I'll explain to you why that is. Because after game week 3, there's an international break, and I think I want to hold on to my transfer this week. So I have 2 free transfers next week. So in goal, I have Martinez. He's playing Newcastle. He didn't have that great of an outing against Watford, but he's been a standout player. He played well last year, and he had 4 saves. He came out with 2 points, but that's okay. And the FDR, the fixture difficulty rating, is saying that in Newcastle is an easier game for him, and they're playing at home. So I'm going with Martinez in goal over Sanchez. Though Sanchez is playing Watford, but yeah, I'm going to be sticking with Martinez. In defense, I'm going with Luke Ayling. Attacking returns against United, and I think he's going to carry that form on against Everton. Though the fixture difficulty rating is saying the chances aren't there, but I think he will play a blinder. And with the way Bielsa played against United, you have this thing that it is going to be attacking football from the get-go. I made the mistake in game week 1 of having him on the bench. Otherwise, I would have had 6 more points. I would have crossed, like, say, close to 100 points in game week 1, but I landed up with 95. That's okay. I'm not going to complain. In defense, I've got Simikas. The thing about him is, though he got 6 points, there was attacking returns by seeing that he's taking corners. And that's interesting to see that he's got the responsibility of the corners, and I think that gives him an extra value. Whereas if he was just a defender, 4 million defender, and that's where I feel that he has the advantage of taking those corners. And if they score from corners, it could be because of him. So he has that chances. Yes, he was slightly wobbly, but I think that's playing in his game. Like, it's the first game of the season. You got to give it to nerves. Trent, as always, was solid. He's taking free kicks. He's got the corners. So I think he's going to be a focal point of the attack, and he was bombing up and down. I have a feeling he might get some assists in this game against Burnley, and it being at home, I'm going with a more Liverpool lineup. I've got 3 Liverpool players in this lineup. Yeah, I've taken Shaw out. I might put him in, but he's playing away from home, and he's on my subs bench. He scored 1 point. So there's a lot of things to consider when it comes to deciding how your team is. So I've gone with 3 players who are playing at home. And if you look at my backline, all of the 4 are playing at home. So I value home fixtures more than away fixtures. Yes, you have to check how the opposition are when you're playing like a United versus a Southampton. You'll go maybe United, but a home team could always nick it in extra time, or like they might produce something spectacular, especially in front of fans in the stadium. And St. Mary's will be jumping, or when the Saints go marching, is going to be blaring out loud. So it's going to be an interesting match, and I'm going to stick with this. I'm not sure if I'll change this. If I do, make sure you follow us on Twitter so you see the final team before the deadline. In midfield, I'm sticking with Rafinha for this week. Yes, he had a poor outing last week, getting only 1 point, but I think he'll play better this time around. But it's just one of those things with, say, Leeds. It's like, what Leeds are you going to get, how they're going to play. And like I mentioned in my earlier video, I think he's like very undervalued for the attacking returns that he has. So I'm still sticking with him. For my captain, I'm going with Mo Salah. Had a blinder of a first game week. 2 assists, and he scored, plus a clean sheet, like 17 points. Happy days. Like, I'm not going to be changing that. I'm going to have him as captain for this week also. It's a toss-up between him and Fernandes, but I think Salah is playing at home, and the way he started the season against Norwich, I think that form is going to continue. But that doesn't mean I'm going to take anything away with Fernandes. The returns that he had from game week 1, wow, 20 points, 3 goals scored. It's just like, wow, like, I didn't expect that. and he has this game against Southampton. It's a heart wrencher. Like, I want to have him as a captain. I want to have Fernandez as a captain, but my mind and my gut says Salah. And usually when it comes to FPL, always go with your gut instinct. Sticking with Barnes, and the reason being is Madison might not be playing. There's 75% chances that after the knock that he had in game week 1, he might not play. And with Barnes, he came out this week saying that he wants to like recreate the form that he had at the end of last year, where he was scoring more goals, he was attacking, and that presence was there. And I think this game against West Ham, because listen, West Ham, they had a hard game last week. It wasn't an easy match, and I have a feeling that this is going to be a high scoring game. If West Ham play the way they did, and if Leicester turn up, it's going to be a high scoring game. So I think Barnes might score some points. In attack, I've got Danny Ings. Yes, he scored last week. He got 7 points. It was in the 97th minute. Will he continue the form against Newcastle? It's the same thing with Martinez. They're playing Newcastle. They're playing at home. It's going to be a packed stadium. You got to go with the home team over here. So I'm going with three-prong attack. The other person is Antonio. Antonio, for his returns, he got one. He scored one, assisted two, and I think he's the value in the West Ham lineup. Either him or Benarama. These are the two players that I'm looking at when it comes to West Ham. But I've got him as an attacker, and I'll explain that to you like in a little bit why I've stuck with Antonio and Ings. So I think he's going to be scoring goals. Yes, it says Leicester's going to be a hard game, but Antonio has a way to score. He can muscle his way in. He's like a cheaper version in FPL of Lukaku. But the thing is, Antonio's performed, whereas Lukaku's just coming in. Tooney, like, he's playing for Brentford. They're playing against Crystal Palace. It's another London derby. So I think it's going to be a good game. Good game at Selhurst Park. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be live, entertaining. There's a lot of fans, and he might score, he might not score, but at 6.5, I don't think it's a big risk. In my defense, I've got Sanchez. They're playing Watford. So I might, it's a toss-up here between Martinez and Sanchez, because Newcastle do have an attacking threat. So that's there. I've got Daniel Amati as my first sub. So if anyone, so what happens, like when you've set your team, your first sub usually is the one who's going to replace if someone doesn't play. I've got Gilmour as my second sub. Maybe I'll just switch him with Luke Shaw. It's like Shaw has been attacking. He runs up and down, but with the number of minutes he played, and he got the yellow card. So, I don't know, like, I get value. So there's value in this team. So my transfer plans, like I mentioned, I haven't made any transfers this week. So I'm looking at having 2 transfers for game week 3. And with those transfers, what I want to do is take Harvey Barnes out and Danny Ings. These are the 2 players that I want to take out. So replacing them would be, there are 3 players I'm looking at in midfield. Let's start with City. One of the players is Mahrez. And if I get Mahrez, I have 6 million left. So why Mahrez is because Mahrez is the guy who takes penalties for City. He is the main penalty taker. So he's going to be in the lineup more. Yes, he didn't have a great game week last time, but I think in this Norwich game week, in game week 2, he's going to perform. So that's there. So I'm keeping this idea of getting Mahrez for game week 3, because game week 3 they're playing Arsenal, then they have Leicester, Southampton. So I want to get at least one City player before that, because I don't have any City cover right now. Then if I get Mahrez, I have 6 million left. One interesting forward right now at 6 million is Armstrong, because he's leading the line at Southampton. At Southampton's game week 3 fixture is Newcastle. So if I get Armstrong in, I'm set. So that's, again, I won't have any budget, but that's my 2 transfers if I'm looking at that. Another option would be getting Mahrez and Kuchu. He plays for Watford and he scored the goal. But the thing with me is I want to watch, he's on my watch list of players. Because he only played 26 minutes. He got the goal. So he's an impact sub. Do I want him to be an impact sub costing around 5 million? But that does free up 1 extra million if I want to do any transfers later on. Another option would be with this is going again with City. Would be either Gundogan or Jack Grealish, because the way Grealish started the game, he was in an attacking position and there's chances that he will take more of a David Silva role. And I mentioned this in my previous video about previewing the game week, so there's chances of that. And with that, I have 7 million in bank. Again, I'm thinking of either Armstrong or Kuchu. If I take Kuchu, I have 2 million left, and that 2 million can be used later on in another game week. Now, the other option with my midfield, so I'm mainly thinking of my midfield, is Spurs. And why Spurs is because of Song. Song, with the fixtures that he has, Game Week 3, Game Week 4, and listen, with Chelsea and Arsenal games, I think he's going to have a good run of form. He is in a good form, so take him. Again, Kuchu comes up top as a 5 million. So there's my spend thing. But I'm thinking of Song mainly because we're not sure what's happening with Harry Kane. Is he staying at Spurs or will he be transferring out? And I know a lot of people are thinking of jumping on the Lukaku bandwagon at the moment. I'm thinking just wait. Just give it some time. See how the team plays out. And I think this is one of the seasons where staying away from a premium forward would make a difference. And what I mean by premium forwards are guys like Kane, Lukaku, and Vardy. Yes, Vardy did score, but at 10.5, I can get other players around. I can have an Ings with with Antonio and with Tooney, so I can mix and match. And Firmino didn't start; he came on as a sub, so that's there. So it's a lot of things. And Jesus, not sure how City are going to be playing. Say if Sterling continues to play on top of the attack because Jesus came as a sub. So there are all of these things. So that's why this game week I'm not making any transfers. I'm sticking with this team. Game week 3 is where I'm planning to make 2 transfers. It's either I'm looking at Mahrez, Grealish, or Song in my midfield for attack, depending on how much money is left over. It will either be Armstrong from Southampton or Kuchu from Watford. Anyways, guys, have fun when you're making your FPL teams. Don't get too stressed. If you want any advice, just send me a text on Twitter. I'll always reply, or comment on these WhatsApp, on these YouTube videos. Take care. Have a great weekend watching FPL, watching football. It's back. And have fun.